Welcome back to weekly classes. It is Q3, week 1. I hope you had a wonderful holiday break and you had a good time over the past couple weeks. I hope everything went well. Today is day 1 of Q3, week 1. We are doing "Me and My Arrow," which is an old song. Look it up. Me and my arrow. All right. Anyway, today we're going to talk about path constraints and linking in Autodesk 3D Studio Max 2014. We're going to create a path. We're going to use the line tool to create a path. Then we're going to link and animate an arrow to follow that path. Then we're going to link and animate the orange to get picked up by the arrow, and then follow it around. Right? And then maybe just maybe we'll have it so the orange itself gets dropped off again. Because second period was like, hey, why does it just disappear? And I said, it just does. And they were like, well, that's silly. And I kind of agree. So let's do it. So I'm going to escape out of that and get into 3D Studio Max. You'll notice from the very beginning, when you download the file, under Manage Layers, let's look at our layers. I've got my background objects, which include my floor and my pillar, and they're all frozen. They render based off of this button here, so right now they will render. My bone layer is not really used. My mesh layer has the orange and the arrow, and it is active. Make sure it is active. I ran into a problem earlier today trying to show this because my active layer was something that was frozen. So that's why I'm recording this again, of course. And then reference layer is the reference stuff that we always usually have. It's frozen and hidden. Great. Moving right along, I can't click on any of this stuff, and I don't want to anyway, so that's perfect. If you hit the front view and hit G, turn your grid on, you'll notice that my plane, my little cube here that's my platform, is set so that it's locked at 0, 0, 0, with the top being 0. That way we can see what we're doing. I can grab these two pieces, but I don't want to yet. And that's that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go to the top view, and we're going to back out a little bit. And we're going to make a line that sort of goes all the way around, goes through the arrow, flies around a little bit, and maybe drops off the arrow and then comes back and links into itself, or drops off the orange and then comes back and links to itself. All right, so let's do that. So in order to do that, we need to create a line. And to create a line, we have to go over here to Shapes. In the Create tab, in Shapes, go ahead and click on that. You'll see at the top there is Line, and we are going to start new shape, so that's all good. So under Line, click that. And now the initial type is corner, and the drag type is Bezier. So what I probably want to do is I want smooth as my beginning, right, instead of corner, because this is going to loop back on itself. Eventually I'm going to connect this loop, this line, to itself. It's going to fly around, it's going to be really neat, then it's going to fly through the arrow, and it's going to fly around with the orange, and then it's going to drop it off. Okay, so let's do that together. So it doesn't really matter where you start. Start someplace that you think is fun. We're going to have this magic arrow that sort of flies on its own. All right, so you can basically, if your initial type is smooth and your drag type is Bezier, that's what I'm going to start with, and I think that's what you should start with too. So first things first, I'm just going to tap and click the left mouse button to create a starting point. Okay, I'm going to create it up here in this top left quadrant. I'm in the top view, so it's actually the back left, but whatever. So I'm going to click here, just click there, and now I'm going to come here and click here. Now as I move, it's going to try and make it a nice smooth curve. So the further I make it out, the more drastic the sharpness of the curve is. The closer I bring it in, the more I've got a curve on this backside. So I want to bring it down here, and you can zoom in with your mouse wheel while this is still active. So I'm going to click it down here, and maybe we'll loop around once. Yeah, I'm going to just click again. I'm not really clicking and dragging, I'm just tapping. All right, so I'm going to click through there, click again, and this time I'm going to click and drag. All right, and then I'm going to click here, and then pass through this maybe. All right, and then pass through here. I'm just clicking. I'm not really clicking and dragging. Actually, let's go ahead and do this. Let's pass through it a second time this way. We'll drop it off that way, and then we'll come back this way, and then we'll loop back to the beginning. Now, when you get close to the beginning and click again, it's going to ask you if you want to close the spline. Let's say yes. And now we've got a general loop. Now it's really, some of these turns are kind of harsh. So let's go into the Modify panel and adjust some of them. Now, since we already have the line selected, notice it's called line 01. I'm going to change that up here to Path, P-A-T-H. Then I'm going to click Vertex over here. So that way we can see the vertexes. Now that means we can actually adjust the vertexes. If you click segment, you'll get the lines between the vertex, which can be helpful, but we're going to mostly work with vertex today. Now once again, when you click on a vertex, hit W, you can move it around just like other vertices we've worked with. Okay. Now each one of these vertices is set to a specific type. Right? As we clicked, we got smooth corners, which means it averages the angle of the two edges. If you clicked and dragged, you got Bezier corners, which I think that's one. Yes. And the Bezier, I think not Bezier corner, but a Bezier curve. So what that does is it gives you this handle that allows you to adjust things. That is actually really nice because you can sort of adjust how strong the curve is going to be and where it's going to be, and you can still move it around. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to sort of smooth out some of these harsh edges by clicking on them and then adjusting it accordingly. I ended up moving into a smooth curve. I ended up adjusting it. Now, if you want to change a regular smooth to a Bezier or vice versa, you can right-click on it and then I know you can't see this, which is super annoying, but you know that I've got the quad menu. So up here is top level. This says vertex, segment, spline, all the way up here to where it says Bezier corner. So right now, mine is set to smooth. I'm going to change it to Bezier corner. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to change it to Bezier. Bezier corner allows you to move each one of these handles independently and allows you to get a really sharp edge, which can be great, but not for what we're doing today because we want it to be pretty smooth. Okay. All right. So once again, I'm just going to sort of go through here and try and make this as smooth as I can because I like it. I want it to be smooth. I want it to be nice and smooth. And if it's not getting the way I want it, I can change it. So in this case, I changed this to Bezier so I can make it a little smoother. We'll bump that out a little bit. This maybe can come up here some, maybe like that. It's a little drastic. I can right click on that, do another Bezier, and adjust it so it's a little smoother. Move this one over there. Maybe it'll whiff by real close, but not actually move. All right, cool. So notice I'm trying to stay inside this like platform area, because that's going to make it just sort of stay within a specific area that we can sort of handle, you know. Also, you'll notice I've got 2 points where it passes through, roughly, through the orange. And I want to make sure that it's relatively flat as it does so. Relatively straight, I should say. The curve is flat. All right. So I think that's good. The curve is flat. That seems like an oxymoron to me. All right, cool. So I think I've sort of smoothed out most of my edges. There's no real harsh turns, and it's okay if these overlap a little bit. You know, once again, go through and you can adjust things to Bezier if you want to make them smoother, if you feel like that will help. I do. And so yeah, so now I've got some smooth curves. They're looking pretty cool. Once again, you could play with this for hours. Get it just right. You could tweak it up however you want. All right, so this is what I've got. Now, if I look at this, I hold Alt, middle mouse button, and sort of rotate around a little bit, and hit P for perspective. You can see all of this is on the plane at 0, 0, 0. Right? This is on my XY plane here. All right? So it's all at Z0. So at front, all of this is at Z0. Now, I'm going to go back into the Create tab so I can move the entire thing up. I'm Move the whole line up. Now it looks like a plane because it kind of is. All right, so this whole thing is going to set up like that. Now I'm going to hit number 1, and it'll automatically jump to the modify panel and give me my vertices. And now what I'm going to do is sort of make this more interesting by giving it some verticality. Okay, right now it's all in one plane, and that's pretty boring. I can hit perspective if I want. I start moving these around. The one thing I want to be careful of is I don't want to move around. I don't want to go through the bottom floor. Okay, and I also want to be careful that when I pass, I'm careful not to screw up this animation here as it passes through the orange, because you'll notice it'll pass. It can pass pretty drastically, even if you're not close to the initial position. As it passes through, you got to be careful, right? So this will make it pass a little too high through the orange for my liking, so I can move that down. There you go. So you just got to sort of keep that in mind. You want that to pass relatively smoothly through. Other than that, I'm just kind of looking to make it different, right? So that from the front, from the side, it kind of is interesting, right? So it's going to come up and come around and slowly come down. Maybe go low here. I don't know. We don't have a lot of high up there. So I'm looking for places to make it interesting. So it's going up and around and flying and being interesting. Let's see. What about that? That goes down. This I think we can bring back up. So it's constantly like swapping. That's cool. Cool, cool. The two that we really need to make sure that are still centered are these two, this one and this one, so that we're passing through the orange appropriately. And it looks like mine's a little off, so I'm going to adjust it a little bit. Maybe just this one down a little more. Like I said, no drastic changes. All right, now I know we're going to be dropping off the orange at a different rotational position, but we're just going to say, hey, who cares? We'll let that go. Okay, great. So now we've got our line. This is our path. This is what the arrow is going to follow. Okay. Now to set that up, we need to go ahead and go back to Create tab, so that we don't have anything selected. I'm going to select my arrow, right? The arrow. You're welcome. Thank you. I will be here all the week. Okay, so now what we want to do is go to motion. Yes. Motion is the little tire looking thing. We're going to select the arrow. We're going to assign the controller. Okay, we are actually going to assign the position, because what we're going to do is we're going to animate the position of the arrow as it flies along. We're going to animate it so it follows the path. So we're going to set that, and then we're going to click this little box up here which says Assign Controller. All right, I know you can't see it, but when you hover over it, it should say Assign Controller. Click on that, and then look for Path Constraint, which is near the middle. Click on that. All right, click OK. Now what we've done is we've said, okay, we've got an arrow. Now what's my path? So I'm going to add a path, and I'm going to add this object right there, and the arrow disappears. Because it didn't actually disappear, it just went to the beginning. Now if you scrub down here, you'll notice the arrow follows along the path for as long as you have. I have 300 frames, so should you. I've got 300 frames, and if you can't see your scrub bar, make sure you can go to Customize, Show UI, Show Track Bar. I mean, you may not need that, but so it follows all the way through, but it doesn't fly naturally. It looks very odd. Okay, that's because we need to set it to follow. Okay, so that means it's going to follow along just by clicking that. Now the arrow follows along the right way. It's a magical arrow. Okay, pretty cool. All right, now not only that, we want it to bank. Okay, so now if you look really close, bank turned off. Let's look at it from the top, that way you can see it better. So that's bank off, bank on. You notice it rotates a little bit. That's because it's getting ready to turn. All right, so if we turn bank on and we scrub forward, you'll notice it turns even more. All right, so basically it's banking, which means it rolls as it turns, kind of like a plane does. All right, cool. So now if you hit play, the arrow sort of flies through. It's got 300 frames to travel as far as the line you made. So it could go really fast if you made a lot of edges, or it could go really slow if you did like just one loop. So that's that. So it's following that path. It's pretty cool, actually. You can actually set more than one path, so it follows each path separately, so you can have it sort of swerve back and forth between two paths, which is pretty cool. But for now, that's basically where we want to go. You can adjust the constant velocity. You can have it so it loops, so it's relative. Relative means that it chooses the path and follows it, but it follows it from wherever it started, which is not what we want today. Under axis, you'll see you can set it to Y, so it always faces out in my case, so it looks like it's some sort of, I don't know, on some sort of slide. Basically, it's just saying which way is front, and we say X is front because that's the way we built it. See, and you can, if you have X and you hit flip, the arrow flies backwards, so it's facing its negative X now. Pretty neat. Great, so that's fantastic. That might be a little too much, maybe not fantastic, but it's pretty neat. So what we want to do now is we want to find out where it flies through the orange. And for me, it's at 126. Okay. If I go to 127, that's fine too. Either one. I want to find one frame where it goes through. I think I might like it on the back side versus the front side, but you got to find the right frame. Okay. So find whatever frame it attaches to. And what we're going to do now is we're going to link the orange to the world at the beginning, and then we're going to link it to the arrow until we want to drop it back off, and then we'll link it back to the world. Okay, so let's try it. So at 126 for me, I'm going to, actually, maybe 127. I like that better. All right, I'm going to click on the orange, so the orange is highlighted. Go to the Motion tab. This time we're going to adjust the transform, not the position, but the transform. Click Assign Controller. Find Link Constraint, which is in the middle. Click OK. And we are going to add link. Click it once, then click the arrow. Okay. Now you're going to scrub all the way back to the beginning and turn off add link and link to world. So at 0, whoops. Here's the problem. Okay, so at the beginning, before we do that, we need to link to the world first. So at 0, we link to the world. Now at 127, I'm going to add link to the arrow. There we go. So now it's going to stay there until there, at which it goes. I'm making my own sound effects. Now it keeps going and going and going until it flies through there. So when we want to stop, all right, I can link back to the world at 231, and then it drops it off. Okay, so now the only problem is it's not dropping it off in exactly the same place, but that's okay. That's okay. What we can do now is take this orange, and maybe we can even have it roll back to where it needs to go at the beginning. All right, so where's my orange at the beginning? All right, turn off add link, go to set key. All right, we're going to set that key there. Boom, flies through, then it drops off right there. Okay, we're going to set that key, and now I'm going to take this key and drag it so it, I don't know, 260 frames. Oops. Okay. Then from there, we should be able to grab it. Shift. Drag to 260. Why isn't it working? That's what you get when you try and do something different instead of going with the plan. So let's go ahead and set the key, turn off keyframes, and we'll just leave it there for now. All right, so that it gets picked up, and then it gets dropped off. And then we're good. So now our animation looks like this. Play it. There. perspective. So we watch this, and you can actually set your time configuration. Right now I'm going half speed, so that's part of why it's going so slow. Yours might be going half speed too. So there it goes. So it gets picked up, dropped off, and it keeps flying around. Once it hits back to the beginning of the animation, it stops. And flies around a little bit, drops it off. Alright, and then moves back. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, if we took some more time, we could probably make it so it definitely stops off, but I don't want to keep you guys more busy than you have to be. So this is the beginning of what we're doing today, or this is beginning of day one, or the end of day one. Tomorrow, we're going to do a little more. We're going to do a roller coaster, make a roller coaster out of that. So basically, we're going to link a camera to the arrow and then loft an object here so it looks like we've got a path we're following, and take it from there. All right, thanks again for watching. If you need the files, all of the files are in the comments section. There's a link to a Google Drive that you can download all the files for this week, so don't forget about that. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them in the comments section and let me know what you think. All right, thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.